Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I want to do just a quick recap of my adventures at PAX Unplugged this past weekend. PAX Unplugged is one of my very favorite conventions. I've been going to Philadelphia to attend for many years now, and this is my first year as somebody who is full-time in the gaming industry. And I'm happy to say I love it just as much now, maybe a little bit more than I did before. So one of the things I particularly like about PAX Unplugged is that it is a large convention, so you're going to see a whole lot of different booths and exhibitors and get that part of the con experience. But the convention is still small enough and still kind of game-oriented enough that you have a lot of free play space, and a lot of people are playing games together into the night, and they're doing it in the free play area, they're doing it in the hotels that are around the convention center. You can get a lot of gaming in addition to having that more show experience. So this summer I went to my first Gen Con, which was great, but I didn't game nearly as much at Gen Con as I did at PAX Unplugged. PAX Unplugged also doesn't have game launches the way that Gen Con does, but I don't actually think that's a bad thing. There's just a little bit less pressure to sell, but it's still a very active show. So the leader team got in on Wednesday, and we put the booth together on Thursday. I'm still getting a kick out of how all of this is actually done. So when you walk in before a convention, it's like this empty, unbuilt city, and they deliver crates for all the different exhibitors to where their booth is, and you just throw everything together. So you put together these little metal structures and put fabric over them to create walls, to create banners, to create different visual effects that are not just a blank space. And then everybody has their own ways of doing, maybe there's a sales desk, maybe there's a point of sale, there are different, talking tables or demo tables, seating arrangements, flooring, and everybody has their own way of doing it. So I'm still learning the leader way, but I was much faster at it this time than I was at Gen Con, where I had zero clue at all. But over the course of that day, that setup day, it's crazy. It's like watching an entire city get built, because you start with nothing, and it's just this empty warehouse, and then it becomes, boom, this place that's just full of different booths and exhibits, and soon it's going to be full of people. And at the end of the convention, when you tear everything down, it's equally fast. It is amazing. The moment the halls close, stuff starts coming down. It's absolutely crazy how quickly people can tear down an entire convention center, given how massive and space-filling it is while it's active. I can't even imagine what it's like to work at the Philadelphia Convention Center, where you watch this happen every week for an entire year, because I think it's pretty wild. That said, the leader booth is a very happy place to be. The way we did it this time was that we had stock kind of in the middle in a little room that we constructed out of walls that were also just sort of decorative banners. And then we had the sales desk on one side, and then all around the other outsides of our booth, because we had all four sides open, we had talking tables for different games that we had on sale. So on one day I got to talk about ARCs for 4 hours straight, which was exhausting but fun. And then the other days I got to work a shift at the sales desk, which I'd actually I missed the retail job phase of being a teenager. And so it was actually kind of fun for me to learn to use a POS and to do anything, even remotely retail oriented, because that's so outside of my usual life experience. Although I guess it's not now. And then basically when I was not on shift, I was just running around like a crazy person, which is what I always do at conventions. There's always so many people to say hi to. I got to see Dan Halligan, the Desire of Obsession, again. And so since PAX is the convention where we usually both are, I really love going to say hi to him because he designed one of my favorite games. I've probably played 200 plus games of Obsession on BGA this year. So you got to go thank the guy who makes that happen. And I get to see lots of old friends and make new ones. So people I'd never seen before in person but talked to that I got to meet included Zoe Allred. So it was on my podcast this season, and it was wonderful to actually get to meet and talk. I got to finally meet Marcy Lyman for the first time, even though we've chatted several times on the internet this year. Connor Alexander was there. He was on the podcast this last season. And I also got to see Will Thompson, who I'd never met before, even though we've talked several times over the years. And I got to check out an advanced copy of Winter Rabbit, which I backed and is looking so good. And so there were several other people that I got to see, sometimes as a repeat thing, sometimes for the first time. And it was just really, really delightful. A lot of people come to PAX, and so it's easy to run into friendly faces. And everybody's just so willing to chat. Maybe they're too busy to have an extended period of time with you, but just that quick hello, it can be really, really nice. Very importantly, I also did get a lot of gaming in this time, which felt great. So the very first night, we played Blood on the Clock Tower. So that was a very, very good time. It's only my second time playing. Mar Hepto was the one who led the game. and they are a pro at it. And it was basically a mashup of some Leader and Whirligate people and friends all playing, and it was absolute chaos. We did the Bad Moon Rising scenario, so you couldn't tell if you were drunk, poisoned, or actually correct about whether your powers were working. It was a hot mess, and it was a blast. So we had a really, really good time with that. Other games that I got in during the convention included Landmarks. So I played a lot of Landmarks because once you learn it, it's super easy. So Landmarks is basically like I think code names, but you're directing people around a map instead of trying to get them to choose words from a board arrangement. And you can do it competitively or cooperatively. I tried both. I would say cooperative is fun with a small group, and competitive is fun with more people because then you can split them into teams and there's like a little bit more for everybody to do. But that was from Floodgate Games, and I really, really enjoyed it. I tried Things and Rings, and that was like a little game where it's like you make a Venn diagram, and one person knows like the trait that goes with each of the Venn diagrams, and everybody else is just trying to figure it out. And you're putting like word cards in, and they're getting moved around, and you're trying to figure out like what is the pattern here. So that was pretty fun. I thought it was like maybe a little too subjective to really enjoy it a lot, but I've definitely played it occasionally. I played the Gang with a larger player count, so that was actually pretty fun. I played with like maybe 5 people in one game and then 6 in another. And I'd only played it with like maybe 4 people before, and I think it really shines more at those larger player counts. So, of course, a convention would be the perfect place to play the Gang. One thing that was kind of frustrating about it is that we actually did quite well, even if we weren't fully successful, but it was hard for people to gauge, you know, if they're basically, you'd have people who had the same hand, but a different high card, and they would be out of order. I don't know if it's like a long-term amazing game for me, but it's definitely super entertaining for these purposes. I played something called Similo, and that was really fun. Basically, you put out a grid of cards, and then one person has other cards that they're trying to use to communicate which one you should pick. So is this similar to or different from the image I want you to choose? And trying to figure out how to communicate that way was highly entertaining. I also got to play the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game. It wasn't bad. I would say that it's probably not as good as The Crew, but if you love Lord of the Rings, go for it. I will say that it didn't really feel that thematic. It's just a trick-taking game, but it was entertaining. For me, though, the peak game of the convention has to have been PAX Porfiriana. I had been really wanting to learn to play it. Playing a PAX at PAX I thought would be funny, and my good friend Paul Wright, who I'm designing a game with, brought it and taught me and one of his friends from his local gaming group. We had a great time. At first, I was really unconvinced that I was going to like it because there was so much going on, and frankly, the graphic design is bad. But once I figured out what I was doing and why, I really, really got into it, and I'm kind of itching to play it again. So I would say that PAX Porfiriana and getting to learn that game from a good friend was really probably the best part. As for food, there's tons to eat in Philly. A couple of exciting things I got to do this time were go to Monk's, where I had a delicious Belgian beer and a very good pub burger. It was wonderful. And then our team dinner for the Leader Games team was hilarious because we went to a pizza place where we made our own pizzas, and it was just really fun to like do that with my colleagues. We had a really good time, and everybody's such a delight on the Leader team. So it was really good to get some bonding time in, to make pizzas. It was just a really fun activity that I would totally do something like that with my colleagues again. Also, I tried a Nutella mocha there. Let's just say that kept me going for a long night of gaming, and I'm really glad I had it because PAX makes you tired. So that's, I guess, the overall arc of my time at PAX. I really, really enjoy that con. If you're looking for a con where you can see a lot of booths and get the con experience, but also game a lot, I do think that PAX is still the best for that. My preferred cons of the year are like the small wargame conventions. I love SD-HistCon, I love Circle DC. But in terms of like larger size conventions, PAX is and remains my favorite. So that's PAX Unplugged. I can't wait to go again next year. If you are there also, you should come and see me. And even if you're not, you should go play something because that's what we're all about. So happy gaming, everybody.